All right. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Lola Gershfeld with the EMC Leaders, and I want to talk to you about disengagement on a team or disengagement on a board. Well, what is disengagement and why it is so damaging for our performance? Well, first of all, disengagement is when people stop communicating, stop engaging in a meeting, stop responding to emails or stop responding to people's requests. They basically shut down. They shut down, they withdraw, they disengage, and they are definitely not able to respond or to communicate, to share ideas, or participate in a collaborative manner. So that is disengagement. And of course, it's very difficult to work in an environment when you do have people who are disengaged. So it impacts you negatively because it gives you the message that somehow the engagement with you is not important, it is not valued, it is not, does not matter. It may be, so it's very difficult to work with an environment where people are disengaged. So, what happens to us, and how do we change that from in disengagement to engagement? Well, the first thing is we need to recognize that when people are disengaged, they are struggling. They're struggling with a disconnection. Maybe they got triggered. They don't know how to address this trigger or the hurt feelings that they felt in the moment when they got disconnected. They feel overwhelmed and they don't know how to talk about it because it's very difficult for them. They are stuck. So they might get triggered by feeling not valued or feeling like they are being dismissed, not being important, and they don't know how to share that. And they feel also they might feel a sense of fear that they will be not heard, not understood, and feel more rejected. So I remember working with this board, and three of this executive team, the vice president, the chairman, and the president, the chairman, the vice chair, and the president were really trying to re-engage the board. Their board engagement was very low. And I would ask them what was happening for them before they would go to board meetings, at the board meetings, and then after the board meeting. And sometimes the vice chair would say, Lola, don't ask me that question. I don't like to talk about my emotions, and my emotions are very private to me. And I would say, okay, that makes sense. I get it. And one time after, but he would still come to our executive meetings and would just observe. And after about 6 months, he came and he said, I want to share what happened to my experience at the board meeting. He said, I felt dismissed, I felt ignored, and I felt devalued, like I was at the bottom of the pit. So this is an example when the person gets triggered, he feels these emotions, and then he feels devalued. So in this case, the vice chair was able to share because he felt safe. He felt safe that he would be given an opportunity to be supportive and share that example, share his experience, and not be rejected. So if he feels somehow not safe and does not feel like it's okay to share those experiences or his emotions, then he wouldn't be able to share that. But he felt safe to do that. So obviously, because the chairman and the vice chair, and the CEO was already trained in this process of emotional connection and they knew how to respond, they were able to say, thank you for sharing. What can we do? And the vice chair said, just be there. Just be there in my experience. So that is an example when people get triggered, if they know what's going on for them, if they know how to share their hurt feelings, they will be able to re-engage, reconnect, and again, be in balance to collaborate and be productive. But if we don't have that opportunity to do that, then it's very difficult for us to know how to do that. Do people feel safe? Do I have the language? Do I have the tools? Do I have the process? And if the answer is no, it's very difficult, of course, for people to know how to talk about these triggers. So disengagement is really a protective way for us to, a protection to use when we get triggered. Think about interaction as a dance, and emotion is the music of this dance. So when we get disengaged, when we get hurt, when we get triggered, disengagement is one of the ways we move when our music starts to play, that we're not valued, we're not important, the other person doesn't care about us, we're dismissed. That's the music. So we start to dance in that way to protect ourselves. And one of those ways is disengagement. So disengagement is shutting down, withdrawing, not responding, and really being stuck in that place of feeling hurt and not valued and not important. Another way to respond to hurt feelings is what we call push for connection, right? Because we are wired for connection, and this is based on attachment theory, because we're wired for connection, we want to, again, feel connected. So if the person, let's say Tom, is withdrawing, disengaging, disconnecting, creating distance, shutting down, let's say Mary, who works with him, wants him to come back. And so she might use the protection when she feels disconnection from Tom. She feels that he's disengaging. She wants him to come back, right? She wants him to re-engage. So she will push for connection because her anxiety goes up when we feel disconnected with a person. She feels rejected maybe because Tom is shutting down. And she starts to feel anxious and upset, and she doesn't know how to calm herself down or feel safe and connected with Tom. So she might be able to, she might increase her anxiety because her music starts to play, saying Tom doesn't care about me, he doesn't value me, he's not engaged, he's leaving the dance floor, right? He's not talking to me, he's not responding to me. And because her anxiety goes up, her music starts to move her in that direction of pushing for connection. And pushing for connection can include several behaviors. It could include speaking loud, why don't you respond to me? Or demanding, complaining, why don't you answer to me? I've been sending you emails after emails, why don't you respond to me? That is an example of pushing for connection. So neither of these behaviors, good or bad, they are what it is. And it's a normal way for us to respond to the disconnection that is happening for us. So in a disengagement, it impacts people around this person when we are disengaged. It creates an anxiety response in other people around us. And the people who become anxious, who are trying to get that connection back, they also, because their approach is more aggressive, demanding, lecturing, they come across as pushy or aggressive, and that creates more disconnection. So when you experience what we call a negative pattern of interaction where one person disengages, the other person pushing for that connection, trying to get that connection back, the way you know how to respond to it and how to deal with your emotions going to help you to either get more disconnected or get more connected. So this is very important to learn about emotions, what's going on for us, how to recognize that we feel disconnected, how to talk about it in a way that creates safety and connection for people. And it's very important for us to learn that because we are co-regulators of each other's emotions. If we are able to understand what's going on for us and create that safety for the other person, then we will be much more effective to re-engage our employees, re-engage our team members, or re-engage our boss to have a communication with us. So let me give you a couple of ideas on what you can do to re-engage your team member or the person that you're working with or your manager who might be shut down or withdrawing. Okay, so the first thing is you describe or you recognize, you make implicit explicit that you are disconnected, right? This is a valid experience that it sounds like we're disconnected. And we call that a negative cycle. We are in a negative cycle. Nobody is a bad guy. It's not your fault. It's not my fault, but we are in a negative cycle. And the negative cycle are described with the behaviors that you see by one person disengaging, withdrawing, distancing, avoiding, and the other person starts to try to get them re-engage. So they either pushing for connection by complaining, whining, lecturing, maybe blaming, judging. All of these behaviors are pushing for connection, trying to get the connection back. So both of these, when people get stuck in these negative cycles, they actually create more. Sometimes they create more and more distance. But if we slow it down, if we tune into our emotions and say, and start to recognize that we are in a negative cycle, we remove the blame from blaming anyone when we are disconnected. So if you have a team member, if you have an employee who is disengaged, and you can say out loud, we are in a negative cycle, just making that implicit explicit, you start to already put yourself and the other person on the same side. We are fighting the cycle, not each other. So that's step one. Step one, recognizing that we are in a negative cycle. Okay. Step two is to bring back the attachment significance, right? It's very difficult when we're disconnected because we can't really collaborate when we're disconnected. When we get in a negative cycle, it's very difficult for us. And attachment significance is really correcting the message, because when people are disconnected or get triggered, the message is that I don't care about you, or you don't matter. I don't. You're not important to me. You don't matter to me. All that message comes across with a trigger. So what we do is we creating a new corrective emotional experience where we say, you are important to me. I do care about you. You matter to me. Right? So I want to correct the message, because if during the disconnection, the message came across as somehow you're not important to me, or you don't matter to me, or you are not valued. Somehow that message came across, and I want to reassure you that you are important. I do care about you, and I want to know what happened to you. I am interested in your experience. So one of the things that's really important is to understand what triggers you. What are the triggers? What are the sensitivities? What are the raw spots that we have that can really create those messages that we get, that we're not valued somehow, we are dismissed, somehow we are not important. So we want to be able to have these tools and learn about each other's triggers, each other's raw spots, and emotions. Emotion plays a big role in our disconnection and reconnection process. So it's very important for all of us to learn how to talk about emotions in a professional and safe way in the workplace so we can have that language. And it becomes like a regular scheduled flight. If we have a disconnection, we have a process that we can all learn and we can go by to reconnect and repair that relationship injury, what we call. So this is critically important. The emotion is really the most powerful thing in the room, and emotion is the most powerful agent of change. If you want people to learn how to dance tango, you can't teach them if there's a salsa music playing, right? You can't do that. You have to change the music. And the way we change the music is to go through emotions. So when people have an opportunity to share what triggered them, what some of the raw spots that hit for them during the trigger, and what they felt in emotions, like the surface emotions, the softer emotions, and primary emotions, what you start to see is that people become more engaged in the conversation. They also start to feel like there's a organizing way to understand their emotional experience, so they become more in balance. And that's what we want. We want people to be more in balance because that's how they can reconnect and re-engage. If they don't feel in balance, they won't be able to re-engage. When they talk about emotions and they actually feel that you are listening to them, you are interested in their emotions, and you have a way for them to share those emotions and then validate those emotions, then everything becomes a lot more safer and for the repair process to complete. And that's what we want. We want to repair the disconnect. We want to heal the relationship injury. And as a result, they'll be able to re-engage and be again productive. So disengagement is another form of conflict. If you talk and discuss about the content, try to tell them, dismiss their trigger, or somehow try to defend or try to explain to them how they should not be thinking about that, that's going to continue to be in that negative cycle. The conflict will continue to prevail. But if you don't talk about content, but give them an opportunity to share what triggered them, what some of the raw spots that hit for them, the sensitivities that hit for them, and the emotions that they experience, and you can validate that for them, then they'll feel heard and valued and understood. And you can say to them, thank you for sharing. I want to know about your experience. You're very important to me. I care about you. And I appreciate what happened for you. Thank you for giving me that insight. So you don't want to apologize. We're not looking for the apology. What we're looking for is for emotional responsiveness, where you can really feel what happened for them in the moment. And we trigger each other all the time because we may respond because we got triggered. And so that's part one, is for you to make space for their experience where they can feel that you really care about their experience. You really are there for them. And they can feel like they're not alone in that experience. When they can feel that sense of emotional responsiveness, they'll be re-engaged. And then it's your turn. You can also share what triggered you, what some of the raw spots do you experience, and what emotions you feel. And that will help them to understand what happened to you when they got triggered. So as a response from your side, they got triggered, and when they responded to their trigger, you got triggered. So it's a circular pattern of interaction that we are dancing together. And when we are correcting the music, we actually helping each other to become more emotionally balanced so that we can re-engage in our work and be productive again. Okay, thank you.